What's up, homies? What's up, homies? What's up, homies? Welcome to the Knowledgeable Homeowner Podcast. We pick the brains of industry pros to unlock the trade secrets of homeownership. Our mission is simple: to turn everyday people into knowledgeable homeowners. What's up, homies? This is the Knowledgeable Homeowner Podcast. I'm Sturdy Joe, and here with me today, I have Ryan Anthony, the man, the myth, the legend, does about 100 different things.
I don't know about that.
My hero. I wish to be as tall as him one day. But he's here today to talk to us about a couple different things. We're going to try and focus on oil boilers, but again, we can go off in so many different directions that what you do on a daily basis brings so much value to homeowners in different ways. So why don't you take a second, do a quick intro, tell us about what you do and who you are.
Sure. My name is Ryan Burnett. Anthony is my middle name. Everyone knows me as Ryan Anthony, obviously, because I started that company about 18 years ago. So we just celebrated that last month, August. So
congratulations.
2006.
18,
yeah, we started.
geez.
So 18 years we're in business, and prior to that, I used to hang sheetrock and do trim work. So the guy that I used to do sheetrock and trim work is now my partner in the full general contracting business.
Oh, that's awesome.
Long Island Building and Contracting.
Nice.
We also own a glass business that I got suckered into from my neighbors because they don't have kids to give their business to, which is one of the things we're going to talk about. And we have the charity, the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund.
Yeah, so. And the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund is our sponsor for these series of episodes. I think what they do is great. You work with young people. You give them opportunities to better themselves that aren't necessarily put right in front of them, right?
Yeah, we give them opportunity. Really, the first thing is the awareness. I don't think, and even me and you, we don't know of all the jobs that are available out there that don't necessarily need a college degree. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of very successful people that don't have a college degree, and there's some sort of misconception with furthering your education is only through college.
Yeah.
And I believe, along with everyone who supports what we do, anything you do is furthering your education.
Yeah.
So whether you're working at a restaurant or throwing out garbage, whatever, everything is furthering your education and making you better and more educated for your future.
Yeah, making you more valuable to the workforce, and that you take a skill out of every little thing you do.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like we've talked about this before, but my experience was I got into construction out of high school instead of going to college, and then after 4 years of construction, I went and got certified in home inspections. And so I left. Like people take a gap year.
Right.
I took a 4-year gap year,
right.
Which I was able to start my life based off that 4-year gap year. And then I went and I got certified and I got the skills to start doing what I'm doing now.
Right.
But the reason what you do resonates with me so much is because if I didn't have people who just pointed me in the direction. I mean, I can tell stories about. In our situation, it's mainly men. It's mainly older men
right.
who just share with us a little bit of wisdom. Sometimes it's a smack in the back of the head for the wrong thing to do. Sometimes we need that. But I know from talking to you about all the really cool things you're doing in that world. But what are some of the updates you have with the foundation?
So we have a list of goals, and we basically have hit every goal in our first year, which is nuts.
Crazy.
So we raised a lot of money last year. Last October we had our first dinner gala event. We raised $97,000 in one night. We crushed it. And from that night we really started gaining. The wheels started turning more and more, and we got a couple different unions on board: Local 25, electric, Local 802 Teamsters, Local 200 plumbers, Local 1 bricklayers. Mm-hmm. Different people as far as boat marina owners, a woman, Dana Persico, she owns a cosmetology school. Yeah. So we have like a huge variety of different industries that come to these meetings that we have once a month, and we talk to the kids that come. Mm-hmm. So the kids that come, we have about 68 kids that have signed up. Not all of them come to every meeting, which they're graded kind of on how many meetings they attend. But if they're interested in talking to one of the mentors, we call them, we have a quick meeting. Everyone introduces each other. We talk about different things every month. And then we, have like a breakout session where it gives those kids opportunity to go and approach that one mentor that maybe have similar interests to what they want to do. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of take it from there. Mm-hmm. And then we help them get job placed, and the kids that show up to the meetings, that get job placed, that are currently working, because you have to currently work to come,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
reap
to
what
be
they
a
sow.
part
They
of
put
this.
the effort in, and they're going to get something out of it.
Yeah, we just gave 9 kids drill set, drill impact gun, drill bit set, and a $500 gift card to Brinkman's hardware store because we
Nice.
linked up with
Oh,
Ben
okay,
Brinkman.
nice.
Both Brinkman brothers are,
Yeah.
you know, and his sister,
Yeah.
very nice people. I know the brothers better. And then we had one kid that went into the hospitality industry.
Wow.
You know, we got him linked
So,
up
yeah,
with
another
the Piermont. Yeah, so he's not going to need tools, so we got him a $500 gift card to Men's Warehouse.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we have our next dinner coming up next month.
So you guys, the young people getting involved with you guys is through the school district right now. Like that 65 was through the school districts.
Well, that's from the kids that I basically have gone to different schools to talk to, different BOCES, different. I've gone to Sachem, I've gone to Farmingdale, I've gone to West Babylon, I've gone to West Islip, different career days. Now it's different because one of our goals was to create a curriculum, which my wife did. She's a teacher.
That's awesome.
And that curriculum is basically the awareness part of planting the seed to these kids in 9th and 10th grade.
So that's in school. Yeah, that's an in-school curriculum.
Well,
yeah.
it wasn't.
But
And
that will be.
It is.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of principals that I spoke to basically told me it couldn't happen. This is like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, of course.
And now here it is, it's happening.
Yeah.
You know, Sachem High School picked it up. They rolled it out this year. The guy who's teaching the class in high school was at our meeting 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
very real.
It's
you know,
happening. Yeah, it's real. It's just you had
yeah.
to put the work into it, and you had to have some commitment, some
Absolutely.
passion about it. and
Yeah.
you
So
see it
now
through.
kids will have that awareness. Now kids will better, will make a better decision on if they want to go to BOCES or what
Yeah.
they want to do their 11th, 12th grade year.
Yeah.
Because BOCES program is $15,000 to $18,000 per kid.
Mm.
And what I've noticed, and I'm sure other people have noticed, that there's kids that are going to BOCES that don't necessarily aren't necessarily the kids that should be going
to BOCES.
They're not going to pursue that career. So why are we sending that
Putting those
person?
resources into it. Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, that person's there because there's not enough awareness to this person.
So your program can really benefit the BOCES program too, because it puts more qualified kids in those classrooms, and they'll be successful. It'll make BOCES.
We're
look
working
better.
hand in hand
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah,
So
which makes sense.
Peter Dalton is the head of workforce development for Westbury. We actually have he calls it a summit. I've never been to a summit.
Yeah.
At the Cradle of Aviation in the
Nice.
Garden City.
Yeah.
So I'm part of a 5 or 6 person panel, and the audience is going to be superintendents, assistant superintendents, principals.
Okay.
That we're going to discuss what we need as far as what industry needs.
So that the
for
people
workforce
in charge of
development.
the school districts can start hearing these alternative paths. You know, because it's crazy. I mean, I hear so many people talking about, and it used to just be the older generation, but now it's, you know, people even as young as my age, they're starting to see like there's got to be a different way, and it's got to be less restrictive to to allow these kids to do different things, and there's got to be that stigma taken away, right? Everybody talks about it.
Right.
Everybody talks about it, but like the action isn't always there. And what you're doing, obviously not everybody's going to do, but I think as regular people, the awareness key, young parents of young kids or parents of high school age kids go into board meetings, possibly bringing this up, talking about it with their school district. I mean, they have to really do what we want. So possibly getting into more school districts is probably it's a double two-war front. You know?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough battle because from what I'm getting the gist of, school districts get I guess state funding by how many kids go to college, and I think that's what has to change.
Oh, wow.
And
That's some dirt you just brought up there.
Well, that's the gist I'm getting.
Yeah,
so but not from everybody. Rich Schaefer, our Town of Babylon supervisor, I'm very close with him. He says it best. He says, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome is the definition of insanity.
Yeah,
and we've been doing that for I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
And we're not. We've basically outcasted all the other professions that are available as if like those are things to fall back on. That's what you do if you can't do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
which, and
I felt like I failed my way into doing construction. Like that was the feeling I had
Yeah.
as a young man. Like I felt like I was a loser.
And how old are you?
I'm 29 now.
Yeah, so I'm 40, 40 last week. And it was the same thing for me. And from the conversations I have with these students, and some are students, and listen, there's kids that come there in their 30s that come to our meetings. It's the same thing where, if they don't fit that college mold, they feel inadequate.
Yeah.
And that's not really fair because a lot of, tomorrow I'm going to talk to Sachem kids, and I always usually start off the conversation that, this room is full of doctors, lawyers, insurance brokers, nurses, garbage men, plumbers, electricians, and what they don't understand is no one's better and no one's smarter than any of those other people. We all work together to build our economy. And without one, the economy doesn't succeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really hammer that home to them. And when I start saying that, I think they understand. And they see like, all right, well, I can't build a house unless I have an architect.
Yeah.
And my architect can't call out for a heavy structure unless he gets an engineer.
Yeah.
And,
it's a team.
And then I need my framers to do this, my plumbers to do that, my HVAC guys to do this. We all work together.
Yeah.
And when I explain that to them, it starts to click.
Yeah. And
so
I feel like the community feeling is there because people have their eyes open. There's a lot of kids who are going into junior, senior year where like they know that maybe they'll just go to Suffolk, but they're not gonna thrive there. There's nothing they're passionate about yet. Like at 18 years old,
right.
me going to school, if I went back to school now knowing what I want to go to, I would be a very successful student because I know what I'm passionate about, I know what I'm good at.
Right.
But at 18, it just wasn't there for me.
No, you don't have that experience.
And people are seeing that. So I feel like the community feeling is there. It's just that what you're doing, we just have to do on a bigger scale. We just got to get more awareness for it and keep. You guys are. I mean, in a short period of time, you've really turned this into a real legitimate thing, and you're helping people. And
like you, I've always been good at networking, and basically, we're giving these kids a cheat code.
Yeah.
The cheat code that took me 15, 20 years to figure out, or you 10 years, or we're giving that to them at age 16. And how much better are they going to be when they're my age?
Exactly.
Like that's what's really cool about it.
Yeah.
And I basically started off with my mentors. I have like 100, and as it started to go, now I have like 150 mentors.
Yeah.
People I just met within the last year that are now, I call them mentors of mine, that now I'm bringing to the table to talk to these kids.
Yeah.
And, it's really a huge leg up if they take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
I love it. I love it
cool.
so much, man. I can talk about it all day.
Me too. Yeah, it's great stuff.
Like getting into like fatherhood and being around the kids. I coach soccer. Like I love the passing it on to the next generation. Like just putting your hand out is extremely rewarding. It's selfish. It's extremely rewarding for me to help anybody out and being like the younger person, in my community who's a little bit older as far as, I have kids, I have a house and stuff. Young people do come to me and they talk to me and they look for me for some kind of consulting, like counseling about what they should be doing.
Right.
It's extremely rewarding to help people.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is really helping people. But, for us, like I felt like I had the people in my life at a young age who did that for me.
You were fortunate.
Yeah. And I know so we've talked about this before, like our dads were in the same industry for a little bit. You guys are home heating oil guys. My dad had a truck and a route for a little bit.
Yeah, he used to. Well, my dad was actually a driver for Entenmann's, and he drove for Entenmann's at night, and then he would deliver oil for Bayview Heating Oil on Saturdays.
Nice.
And I would go with him as a kid.
Yeah.
And
pulling the hose.
When I was doing sheetrock, I got approached by the guy who owns Bayview Heating Oil, and he said, why don't you come and learn service? Not delivering. Because,
learning
and
how
then
to work on boilers.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought of it as I could bring an asset to my father's company because now we'll have a service guy to recommend. He'll deliver oil, and because that's one of the things we'll talk about: full service as opposed to COD.
Yeah.
And I could
How
bring
old
that.
were you at this point? Like when you started looking at a boiler?
18, 19.
18, 19
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah, that's about when I got in.
So 20 plus years of looking at boilers.
Yeah.
And it's funny because doing home inspections, I go into dozens of homes all the time. Like I see the LI boiler stickers all over the place. So in 20 plus years, the amount of homes and boilers that you've looked at is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So you're definitely the perfect person to talk about.
Absolutely.
With, home heating oil and boilers.
I get freaked out sometimes, because people talk about like I was by myself for 10 years building the business. I had helpers and stuff like that, but no one knew where I was. I could have been in someone's basement getting chopped up. I had never thought of it then. Now I look back and I'm like, I really wasn't probably the safest.
So you were the service.
I was the service guy. I was the installer. I wore all the hats for the first 10 years of this business.
And you got a lot of business from the other oil delivery people or other plumbers. So you did a lot.
So
of business
the days I was slow with my own business, I would go work with a plumber. I would go work with an HVAC guy, and I would learn.
Because you didn't start your business making seven figures and busy every day. Yeah.
No.
It's feast or famine.
I did
for
the
a long
plumbing
time.
we did the CVS here in East Islip.
Nice.
I did all the underground for the one over on was at Connectquad over there in Islip Terrace.
Yeah, where it's split.
But I did it working for another guy.
Yeah.
You know, and I learned that, and that's just something else that, you know, that's not really my background. I don't do a lot of. I don't do that now.
Yeah.
I focus on what I focus on.
Yeah.
And if I have to do that, I subcontract.
But it's just the skill set you got. And at the time, I've done a dozen different types of jobs in construction just to fill my schedule. Because
Right.
You know, when I got into working for myself, I would go talk to different realtors, and this was somebody in my wife's family, and you know, he's been in business since he was 18. He's probably in his 50s now.
Right.
And he was like, "You're doing the right thing, kid. You really are." He's like, "Give it 10 years. 10 years until you're comfortable, but you'll get there. Don't worry." And I just remember thinking, I was like, dude, no way it's going to take 10 years. And now I'm 7-8 years in. I'm like, okay, now I get it. Like, it's not comfortable for a long
It's funny
time.
you say that. If you're who I think you are, you're never going to be comfortable.
Yeah, I know.
I could have been comfortable 10 years ago,
Yeah.
but that's not who I am.
Yeah.
So, like, I could just have a heating and air conditioning business and be fine.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do more. And we got into the construction industry because I got sick of customers saying, "Hey, do you know a guy for this?" And I would recommend someone.
And
They
they would
wouldn't
not live up
show
to
up. They
expectation.
wouldn't live up to
Yeah.
their expectation. So I finally got to the point, and I'm not greedy, and I can't be a jack of all.
Yeah, you
So
got
I
a
went to
partner.
one of my best friends who was already.
Is that the
Bob.
extraordinarily large
Bob's
man
real
that I
big.
met?
He's like
When I went to your office last
25.
week, there was a
That's a
there was a
large man.
bouncer-sized man.
Yeah,
there,
he's like the older brother I never had.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he just turned 46 yesterday, and
So that's who you did some construction work in the back
When I was a
back-
kid.
back in the day.
Yeah, I would-
Okay.
I
So
actually-
you guys do the general contracting now together. Yeah.
So he brings the carpentry end of it, and he's very versed in construction. He's been living it, 25 some maybe more years.
Yeah.
And then I have the mechanical background.
a
So
great
now when we
combination,
do a
yeah.
job, it goes right.
Yeah.
Because as a HVAC, boiler, heating and air conditioning guy, I always end up getting into the house after, and it's like,
Yeah.
Everything's
Things
sheetrock,
aren't thought about.
everything's-
Yeah, they frame. You got to put a toilet. You got to put
Customers
a toilet trap
upset
in.
be-
There's 6 joists in the way. Yeah.
I've heard so many stories of bad contractors, and I'm not here saying I'm the best, but to be a good contractor does not take a lot.
Yeah.
Answer the phone, show up when you're supposed to,
Yeah.
do the right thing, and have some integrity.
Yeah.
It's
I think
that easy.
Contracting is, so being a young person and working for myself for a decent amount of time now, it's funny to me because when I was younger, I saw a contractor as where you are now. You're very experienced, 20 years of
Right.
experience. And then now, being a young person, seeing how quickly people I know that 4 years ago probably didn't have very vast experience now,
Right.
they're a contractor. The ceiling of entry is probably a little too
Right.
low, but yeah, for homeowners, there is varying degrees of skill.
Well, I'm still not.
Especially a GC.
I'm a GC, but I have a partner for a reason. There's questions that come up that I don't know.
Yeah.
Bob's
collaboration
going
is-
to have to get back to you on that. Now we have a relationship with architects. I'm going to have to talk to my architect.
Yeah.
I always saw people that would kind of bamboozle their way into conversation, and you knew they were full of it.
Yeah.
I always saw that, and I always said I would never be that person. So if I don't have the answer to a question, I'll get back to you.
There's a way to do it.
Right.
Doing home inspections is one of those things where the gist is that we know everything, and I've taken the total opposite approach. I know a lot about what I know about, but one of the things that gains me tons of respect with people, and they actually know I'm not full of it, is admitting when you don't know. Admitting when you don't know, saying I'm going to have to get back to you on that, or I don't have all the pieces for that answer. Like that has built such trust for me, more than just saying I know everything.
Yeah.
It's sometimes
No one likes
admitting
to know
that you
it all.
don't understand this, but we're going to figure it out, or I'm going to dig more and we'll find out.
No one likes to know it all.
Yeah.
And you're doing the right thing because you're building your book, as did I, as do most people, of who to call when you need a question answered.
Yeah.
And everyone has that book if you're smart.
Yeah.
Because you can't know everything. It's impossible.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well, that's why doing the home inspections is very general, and then I got into the energy efficiency stuff. So now, I just focus on energy code, doing the HERS Reigns Manual J. I'm that person. So when you call the architect about a certain insulation detail, and there's something that they need to make sure it passes code, they're calling me. So the level of calling the niche expertise guy runs so deep, but the projects that we work on, most of them run pretty well. I mean, they're these $3 million houses out east, and they go pretty smooth.
Yeah.
It's because you trust the expert.
Right.
That's the whole point of what I'm doing too. Is
Right.
I can sit here. I do it all day. When I'm on a home inspection, I am the proxy expert for my clients. But besides field experience, I can only get that information by having conversations with pros. That is the only way I can get continue to move the needle. I can take as many classes as I want, but I run into situations all the time, and even if it doesn't affect the deal that we're dealing with, I want my pros input. So I have like electrician friends. I'll text them like, what do you think about this? I have plumber friends. My neighbor's a plumber. I talk to him all the time about the stuff that we see.
Right.
But that is kind of the gist of what the Knowledgeable Homeowner Podcast is, because that's what we're doing here is a Knowledgeable Homeowner Podcast.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to get you on here today too to talk about home heating oil. Oil heated homes. Long Island, there's
everybody
tons.
hates it all of a sudden.
Tons.
Well, actually, for years now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a stigma to it, but a lot of houses have no choice.
Right.
You got these home buyers. They want this area. This is the area they grew up in. You're gonna have home heating oil. You're gonna have fuel oil as a boiler. Like that's all you're gonna have.
Right.
So I find myself having to have these conversations where it's like, listen, there are pros to it, but most people don't understand that.
Right.
So, I mean, I have some questions here, and I think the first one really is like, what are some positives of home heating oil?
Well, I just want to actually touch on one thing first. So, the reason I think that gas got so popular, obviously they incentivize people to convert to gas, but plumbers don't work on oil. If you ask any plumber, they hate oil. And the reason they hate oil is because they don't know how to fix it. So that's not really doing the right thing for the consumer. So when I talk to a consumer, we do gas. We do probably 50% gas, 50% oil. I educate them on the pros and the cons, and then I let them make a decision. Whereas other people are very biased because they don't know how to do this part, the oil part. They only know how to do the gas part, and they push the client to gas, and that's what's happened over the course of the years, and everything was incentivized to the master plumbers, and that's all they knew how to do, and that's what really, I mean, listen, gas is good, oil's good too. So it really depends on what you want to do. A lot of things with oil, big companies like, I don't know if I should mention names, but let's just say big companies that went around and buying up all the little companies, they sell you a service contract that's, $250 for the year, and people think that, I'm getting a cheap service contract. But what the consumer doesn't know, or they eventually learn, is they're charging you 50 cents to $2 more a gallon for the fuel.
So that's where they're making up on the,
And if you're burning 1,000 gallons and you're paying an extra, say it's $1, it's $1,000. Now it's a $1,250 contract. And this is what I kind of educate consumers on. Sometimes I'll talk to people and they'll send me a picture of a boiler. It's 5 years old. I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, well, I just want gas. Well, who do you buy from?
Well, that's a big thing that I get in touch with clients is, even if gas is available,
right?
We have a 5-year-old boiler. It's in mint shape.
Right.
It's going to last another 20 plus years. Why are we going to spend money? And I'm an energy efficiency guy, so obviously with gas you get the high efficiency Navians and all the fancy stuff. But I have these conversations because it's like, why you're throwing away all the free value you get of buying a house with a 5-year-old boiler? That boiler's $10,000 or something. And why are we throwing it away? So that's a big conversation I have with people. Is like this system with a maintenance every year is going to last you another 20 plus years. So you get that too, where people they just want to get rid of it.
It's the stigma. It's similar to college. I can't help but correlate the two. It's people are sold, and it's just like watching the news. You're going to believe what the news tells you.
Yeah, because
I don't want to start going down that road.
Yeah.
I don't watch the news. I don't do any of that. I research, and not only do I research, I live it every day.
Yeah.
And I hear the feedback from clients.
Yeah.
And I hear the good, and I hear the bad, and I hear what product is working and what product isn't, and then I adjust. And that's what any good business owner should be doing.
Yeah.
And like I said, I try to be as fair as possible to the consumer.
Yeah.
And a 5-year-old oil boiler that's running and functioning fine, if you buy correctly, are you rolling the dice if the stock market takes a turn and the oil starts going up and they start playing? But it correlates to gas too. If oil's up, gas is up.
We're paying more too. Yeah.
And gas is only one supplier.
Yeah.
Whereas
we don't have a chance to negotiate our rates.
No,
you can lock in.
Yeah.
So that's all right. So just to explain it like simply, when you have home heating oil, you have a fuel tank in your home.
You can see it.
You can see it, and you actually have to buy and store your own oil. So when you're talking about COD or contract, like 1-minute overview of each. Like, what do you mean by COD? What do you mean by on contract?
So discount fuel or COD is you call a guy, used to be out of the penny saver, but now there's different websites and, he strictly delivers oil.
Okay.
So you call that person, there's a 50-gallon price, a 100-gallon price, a 200-gallon price, a 500, and it rates different as you buy more gallons. So if you have a bigger tank or an in-ground tank, obviously you get a better deal, but you're laying out more money. So those are companies that the consumer will have to call and say, hey, I'm running low, I need a delivery, can you come? That was always a problem to consumers because people forget.
You got to check. You
People
got
are
to check
busy.
your fuel levels. Yeah.
Right.
You got to keep an eye on that gauge.
So people want the comfort of a full-service company, and a full-service company, they go off of, it's like a program of degree days.
Yes. Heating
And
degree days.
sometimes they come every 3 weeks. Now the pros and
They
cons.
come automatically based on how much oil your boiler was supposed to use based on how many heating degree days, pretty much how cold it was outside.
Right.
They have fancy formulas that figure out you should have used 50 gallons. We're going
Right.
to come and deliver 50 gallons.
Yeah, because they want to be efficient.
And that's a premium.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
you're
they
paying
want,
extra for that.
They want to be, and that's a misconception. Those oil, I know these guys that own these
absolutely.
companies. They want to be as efficient as possible too, because
Yeah, it's business.
the least amount of times they send a truck with a driver and the diesel fuel to get there,
Yeah.
and the maintenance and
Every trip
the
is
less
cost
the
profit.
less trips and the more fuel, the more profitable it
Yeah.
is.
So they want to be efficient with their deliveries.
Yes,
Yeah.
they want to get as much oil in the tank as possible.
And now a word from our sponsor, the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. This foundation is focused on providing alternative career paths for young people other than just college. If you want to learn more about what they got going on and some updates, you can check them out at lookwhomadeit.org. Now back to the show. Okay.
So that's on that end. So yes, they come automatically, and yes, sometimes they come every 3 weeks. And
But it's
people
because you
hate
need
it.
the fuel. It's not if you need it's okay. So it's because you need the fuel they're coming.
Right.
It's not a problem that they come regularly.
So the other problem that I see is people, and it's funny, and like I said, I'm not pro either. I very much service and do service contracts on both, but people call and say, I spent $4,000 last year in oil.
Yeah.
I'm like, impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did. I'm like, do me a favor. I said, before you get upset, I said, how big's your house? 1,900 square feet. Impossible.
Yeah,
You have a serious problem if you did.
You get a leak.
Okay, how much is your rate per gallon? All right, by discount. Now it's really impossible.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, go and get your stubs for how much oil you got delivered last year and call me back. They'll get their stubs, they'll call me back, they'll be like, yeah, I only burned 450 gallons, or I only burned 600 gallons. I'm like, well, what did that add up to? Oh, it was, I don't know, 1,800 bucks.
Yeah.
I'm like, so you thought it was, and the perception.
Oh, so they just assumed they.
Yes.
Yeah, people
Yes.
are saying things. Yeah, I paid $4,000. Yeah, they paid
It's
1,800. Yeah.
bullshit.
It's just they had one $600 one, and they thought they got 5 deliveries.
Yes.
It's like the winter one's the most.
And why is that? Because you're getting your oil right around Christmas.
Yeah.
And money's tight during Christmas.
Yeah. So
I
I remember it bad.
It's like, listen, you're getting 3 fill-ups a year, 4 fill-ups a year, depending on the house. 4 is actually a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas gas is constant stream in, and you get a bill every month.
Yeah.
Sometimes the bill's higher, sometimes the bill's lower.
Yeah.
Does it equate to be similar in certain houses? Yes. It all depends.
Yeah.
Are you looking at your windows? Are you looking at your insulation? All the things you check
The
for.
average person, as a home inspector and an energy efficiency pro, the average person is so wasteful that people ask me all the time, like, how do I lower my bills? How do I become more efficient?
Right.
There's work involved in that you're not going to be able to do. So even with gas, like my house we're a rather inefficient house.
Right.
It's just with kids and everybody in there. We are inefficient. So like my gas to oil rate is I probably would pay almost the same with gas. I don't save much money using gas because I probably overextended the capacity of my boiler too. But well, that's another thing I do bring up with a lot of clients is that oil boilers, the oil burns hot. Like comfort is always going to be a thing. Hot water is always going to be pretty, as long as everything's serviced and maintained right. But oil burns hot, so comfort levels are always solid.
As far as efficiencies go, it's oil, natural gas, propane. So oil technically is the most efficient. You
get the most BTUs per gallon of
yes,
oil.
Yeah. Yes, and it all correlates to pricing and whatever else. And, you know, and when I tell people that, they're like, no. I'm like, yeah. They're like, yeah, but I saw a product online that's 95% efficient. I said, well, let's talk about that too, because that's not necessarily true, as you know.
It's all conversion. So you get 95 cents of heat out of a dollar that you buy, but that 95 cents of heat is less BTUs.
But you have to understand too that look, Renai, it's a high efficiency boiler.
Nice.
You know, like I love Renai. That's my gas product that I use. Like, they're great guys. I talked to them about this because, and they're not hard on the hard sell, but like some companies, they want you to just like, oh, it's 95. It's not 95%. If you look at a high efficiency boiler, when you have a full house in perfect conditions, and the house is,
you're talking about the return,
and the house is radiant tubing,
maybe.
Our houses in Long Island are radiators, baseboard, mostly. You may have 1 zone or 2 zone of radiant, but that's it.
And there was no sizing done between the heating load calc and the sizing of the beat. So he's touching on something very technical, but like my mechanical engineer friends are going to appreciate this.
Yes.
So one of the things that I can do, but it's such a moot point now. Almost every high efficiency boiler that I see put in place does not have a low enough return temperature to actually hit 95.
And condense.
The condensing never happens. It's an 80% efficiency.
On shoulder months it will.
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people. On the shoulder months, that is what's good about condensing boilers. Condensing boilers
because it has the variable power.
Has a gas pedal.
Yeah.
If it says I'm sending out 180 water and it's coming back at 179,
it's going to run.
I don't need to run so hard, so I could slow and ramp down.
Yeah. So the shoulder months are the fall and the spring, essentially, right? In between the seasons. Yeah. So and then I guess if you're using a combination boiler in the summer, it's only going to run.
Well, combination for hot water, you're going to run high because you want the GPM.
Okay.
So, you know, but then once again, you're not storing water, so that's a plus.
Yeah.
So there's so many pluses and so many. It really depends on the person.
It's a semantics thing.
Yes.
You know, you could take a Prius with 100 miles a gallon. If you slam on the gas pedal, it's not going to be efficient.
Right.
I do it as my own study.
Mm-hmm.
I shoot the number coming back in, and it's never condensing. It's a high efficiency condensing boiler that's capable of being 95% efficient. They're all running at 80, 85.
Yeah.
So it's more expensive. You got to service it. It doesn't have as long as a lifespan.
We did a job in Halesite. We did a job in Halesite on the water construction project. Full first floor renovation. Second floor is untouched. Has baseboard upstairs. That's high temp. But the whole downstairs, 1,500 square feet, we did radiant. They gained a lot of efficiency.
Yes.
Because that boiler's going out at like 110.
Yeah. And
it's coming back at 100. It's never more than 130 and
130
less.
Is the number.
Yeah. So. And once again, there's guys that can get real technical on that. And if I wanted to be technical like that, I would go to the schools they went to, but I go for what they tell me. And if something's over my head, I have like 10 guys I can call. Hey, I had this radiant job, I need it sized. Can you size it for me? Absolutely. Yeah. I deal with you have to go to the professionals.
Pros,
You have to get, that's exactly what you do.
So with oil, and speaking about efficiencies, the average oil boiler, they're all rather the same efficiency. But you can get
older and younger.
Okay, so the age of it affects it.
So the System 2000, I put a lot of them in. Because now, remember, when I was building the company, and I took a big risk. I probably went like 1.1 million in debt.
Damn.
I bought 6 or 7 trucks in a year.
So you went all in, you're saying?
Yeah, I hired a bunch of guys, and then I started subcontracting for Romanelli and Son. Then I started subcontracting for Hart.
Oh, wow.
Then Perillo called, General, Manor, Lewis, Rockland Charter, Sweezy, Frank Brothers, all these guys. So I had to ramp up because I said, I'm going to get all this work. I'll hire all these guys and I'll make a lot of money.
Business,
I did it for like 3 years and I was losing money. My accountant basically, I'd be like, you have to do something else. But I learned a lot in that time, and I learned the inner workings of other companies.
That's when you install different types of boilers, and you got to.
That's when I installed System 2000.
Because their website, if you go to the conversation we had, they're ready to die on the hill that their boiler is more efficient than any other boiler. I love that whole page. If you ever look into it, it's kind of funny because like some dude who is super technical, who's done tons of research, is like, no, I'm telling you, we are the most efficient boiler. And one of my good friends is in
every house
is an oil boiler tech. He loves this. He's like, that's the one I want. He wants to keep oil and he wants to do System 2000.
Listen, I don't mind System 2000. Some of the replacement parts on it are expensive for my clients.
Okay.
And it's hard enough that prices are what they are. When an expensive part goes, how do you go to Mrs. Smith? 2 days after Christmas. All right, this part is this much money. And
that's a very good point.
you know, and I stock parts for those boilers. Even though I don't install them, I still stock those parts.
That's
so
advice
I
I
have them
give people
available.
with high efficiency systems.
Yeah.
Is it's
Stock
not
some
for
parts.
everybody.
Right.
I'm talking about like homeowners
Right.
getting it installed. You got to be willing to live that life. Like if you don't want to deal with expensive repairs and possibly replacing expensive parts, do the simple stuff. So
Right.
that's a good point you're saying.
Right.
With like, you know, it's not for everybody,
So-
and that's the truth with all these
Yeah.
things. Is that COD or contracts? Contracts are better for some people. COD is better for other people. Depends on what type of homeowner you want to be.
Most people go by their monthly budget.
Yeah.
And some people like that they have a monthly budget and they know that's the number and it's not going to go higher than that.
Yeah.
Some people like that, even though that number may be $400 a month,
Yeah.
where you're
you
not
shop
burning
it-
$4,800
Yeah, if you
worth
shop
of
it, you can
fuel.
get it cheaper. Like right now, the position I'm in life,
Right.
I like to have all my home expenses very rigid.
Right.
I have done all the balanced billing.
Right.
And so if I had oil, that would probably be where I lean because like I like to know exactly with the business and everything
Right.
how much money needs to be where. But the Italian in me
Mm-hmm.
and all my great uncles and my father, they want COD because
Yeah,
they want to
cheap.
negotiate what's
I
your
know.
best rate,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. So
It's funny. But I tell people, like, if you really need to be monthly, why don't you take that same 400 and put it in a separate account? If you're disciplined enough,
Yeah.
put it in a separate account, and you'd be surprised what you have left over at the end of
Yeah.
the year by
Yeah.
going to discount.
yeah.
You know, and that's the truth. You know, like I said, but you're giving up too. You know, you're giving up. You know, having a service contract with a full service company.
Can
Years
you
ag-
get a service contract being COD? Is that can?
Yeah, I'm glad you said.
Okay, 'cause
So
that's
I'm the
important.
thorn in
'Cause that's
this-
all I care about.
Yeah.
I want my clients to have. service
I'm the
contracts.
thorn in the side of those companies
That's
because
you.
years ago there were no guys like me that would go and give you an oil service contract because no one wanted to give you an oil. A lot of things could go wrong. A lot
You're
of things
saying
could break.
a standalone oil service contract.
I do
You're
service-
separate from the oil deliveries.
I don't deliver any fuel.
you're just the boiler man.
I want my customers to burn as little as possible.
Yeah, of
I have no skin in the game for them to
Oh,
burn.
I understand. So you're counterintuitive for the business.
I'm a service
Yeah.
now, but my service contract is more expensive than their service contract when you're looking at it.
but it's not apples to apples.
No,
Yeah.
my service contract is like half or more cheaper
Yeah.
than what their contract
Yeah.
is. But because the way it's presented and marketed, it seems less.
Oh, I know what you're
And
saying.
that's the
Yeah, yeah,
misconception
yeah.
that a lot of people don't take the extra time to look into.
Yeah.
And I'll have a 20-minute conversation with a homeowner, and they'll hang up and they'll still stay with what they're doing because
Yeah.
that's what they're used to. And,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, not everybody's for me.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
So with a service contract, a boiler service contract, that includes like
Maintenance.
annual maintenance, and then something
Yes.
breaks down in the middle of the night, they call you.
So our service contracts with our oil systems, we cover everything. Now here's the other difference. My service contracts, I cover the water, electrical, and oil parts. Same thing on the gas side. So the firing mechanism, I call it. So whether it's a gas system or an oil system, I'm covering it. I cover the parts and the labor. If you look at your full service contract, and hopefully people watch this and
go
see,
look at it, yeah.
you know, if you look at your contract, you will see that not everything is covered on that $200 or $250 contract that you're buying from the bigger companies. To have the contract that I offer from those companies, it's more money. It's actually more than my contract.
Yeah, got it.
And I've done the research.
Yeah.
You know, so that's another thing that people don't know. And what happens is, it happens all the time, especially this time of year. I had a company, I've been using them for 15 years or 10 years or whatever. They just came to replace an expansion tank and relief valve, and they gave me an $800 bill. I've had a contract with them for
Yeah,
years.
so what's the point of having a contract?
Well, you weren't covered all those years for water parts. Well, this is shocking to me, and now I'm not using them anymore.
Yes.
And then they lose that account,
Yeah, there's no
which
transparency, yeah.
is really not the smartest on a full-service oil company
Yeah.
because you would think they would cover more.
Yeah.
But listen, that helps me, so
Yeah, absolutely.
it doesn't really matter as much.
All right, so just questions coming to mind because, like, again, I have to have these conversations with clients. I go to a house and I find, you know, boiler's okay, but they have an older oil tank. Is it problematic to have an older oil tank?
Yeah, you want to be proactive with those
Yeah.
things. If the thing is weeping and looking spongy,
Yeah.
you want to be proactive and change. And that's where the conversation comes in with gas conversion. So I tell them, if your oil tank is good and your boiler is old, it's cheaper for you to just upgrade the boiler, keep the oil tank, because it's already done. Now, if you have a berry tank or a basement tank and you have to do a boiler, now the price becomes closer
Yeah.
from a gas conversion to an oil upgrade. So then it's a different conversation. So then people mostly go for the gas, which is fine.
Yeah.
And you know, it depends on the person. Once
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
you
In
know.
the situation. And, yeah, so, all right. They're telling us we got to wrap. We could go for
Go
probably 2 more hours.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
they
but
got
this is good
the
talk,
two
though,
wrong
man.
guys together.
Yeah,
for
but this is
yeah.
such. So the way I put it is like, people just don't want to. They don't want to look dumb, so they don't like admitting they don't know things. But as a homeowner, like, how the heck are you going to know anything about your house, especially if you have no construction background? Your job is something totally different, but you're still kind of expected to understand. I'm not saying you have to be a DIYer and fix it yourself, but
Right.
if the boiler breaks, I want my people, all my people, to at least know, hey, my boiler's broken. I never want to hear them say, hey, my furnace doesn't kick on. Like, that's the kind of knowledgeable, like, when I say knowledgeable homeowner, that's what I want them to be.
Right.
I want them to know the basics, so at least they can know the right person to call. I don't want them to have to fix it. Not everybody's a DIYer.
Well, we
but-
fix furnaces too.
No, sweet.
It all goes
But
in the same
I'm not saying
aspect.
not the
Yeah.
furnace. All I'm saying is when they look at their boiler, I want them to call it a boiler. I don't want them to call
Yes.
it a furnace. I
Yes.
want them to have enough.
Yes.
You know, I want them to know the difference between a roof and a ceiling. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want them to say these. I don't like that. That's the type of stuff. I think no matter what your background is like you should know. We live in these houses every day.
I know.
You know, we should know a little bit more about them, and it'll also leave them less prone to getting duped by a selly tradesperson.
Yeah.
If they seem like they're not.
Well, that's the other problem.
lost.
By the time people, call me for the first time, they've already been ripped off X amount of times.
Yeah.
So they're leery,
Yeah.
and you can't blame them.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's hard sometimes.
Yeah, well, I'll
like-
get clients call me back like, hey, I had a contractor come in and they said we had to do a full system replacement. I'm like, you replaced a system that was running perfectly fine. It just had some old parts. Let's do the math. $600 to fix it, $10,000 to replace it in almost the same amount of time. It's half a day is a half a day.
Right.
And then they kind of feel a little dumb. But
Right.
all right, Ryan, thank you so much. You're the man.
Absolutely.
I appreciate
You too.
you.
Yeah.